Welcome to today's video on solving trig equations. Today we're going to be looking at how we solve trigonometric equations in this form, and I'll do another video on some slightly more complex forms of trig equations. But today we're going to practice a couple of things. We're going to look at how do we use our cast diagram properly and how do we find the multiple solutions to this type of trigonometric equation. Okay, the place we're going to start is using the information in our equation to populate our cast diagram correctly. We only have to look at one part of the equation, and that's this value here. And we're asking ourselves a really simple question. Is this value positive or negative? All right, is this value positive or negative? Now, I'm only going to look at examples in this video where this value is positive, and I'll do a later video where this value is negative. All right, so this value is positive. If it's positive, we always tick the A quadrant, always. The A stands for all and means that all the trig functions produce positive values in that first quadrant when the angle is between 0 and 90 degrees. So we're always going to tick A if this is positive. What other one do we tick though? Well, it's positive, and so we look at the start of our trig function, in this case sine, and we take the letter from the start of that. So we're talking about a sine function, that's what the S stands for, and so we're going to tick the S quadrant as well. Once we've got those ticked, what we're going to try and do is find this first quadrant angle that's going to unlock the solutions to this equation for us. To do that, we are going to take the inverse sine, and I'll show you how to do that on a calculator in a wee second, of this value, and importantly the positive value. And again, I'll explain more fully what happens when I do a further video when this value is negative. How do we put this in our calculator? Well, you're going to take your calculator, you're going to use this button here, which is the second function button, and you're going to push sine, and that gets this sine to the power of -1 up here, and then we're going to just type in our value, which is 0.5, and push equals, and we get an answer of 30 degrees. We have a wee look and we see if we want that answer. That's our first quadrant answer, and in this case it's ticked, so we do want that. So one of the answers to this equation is that x is equal to 30 degrees. The second solution exists in this quadrant, and you'll have been looking this week at some little rules for each of these quadrants, and I'm going to write them on here. I wouldn't usually do that, but just so you can see where these answers are coming from. So in the first quadrant, it's the answer we get off of our calculator, a degrees. In the second quadrant, we take that answer that we're going to get off our calculator and we subtract it from 180 degrees. In the third quadrant, we take that same first quadrant answer and we add it to 180 degrees. And then finally, if we have the fourth quadrant ticked, we take that answer away from 360 degrees. These little rules never change, only the quadrants that we have ticked will change, and we need to know which rule corresponds with which quadrant. So you can spend a bit of time trying to memorise that, and the better you know this, the easier this part becomes. Okay, so which one have I got ticked? I've got the second quadrant here, and it says take 180 degrees and subtract your original answer away from that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take 180 degrees, and I'm going to take my first answer away from that. This gives me two solutions to the problem, 30 degrees and 150 degrees. These are my two values for x. We're going to do another example, different trig function, but exactly the same kind of structure. So in this one, we're not looking at sine anymore, we're looking at cosine. We've still got a positive value here, this time 0.7. And we're going to see if we can do the same thing and get two solutions to this problem. Remember where we start, we're going to start by ticking our cast diagram. It's positive. When it's positive, we always tick A. We then have a little look at our trig function, and in this case it's cosine, so we're also going to be ticking C this time. Remember last time it was sine, so we ticked S, this time cosine, so we tick C. Once we've done that, we're going to find our first quadrant angle. To do that, we're going to take the inverse cosine of this positive value, in this case 0.7. Just remember how to do that. I'll show you on the calculator again. We're going to use our second function button. We're pushing cos this time, typing in 0.7, push equals, and we get a solution. Not as nice as the last one. This one's got lots of decimals, 45.572996. We're going to round that to one decimal place, so I'm going to go with 45.6 degrees. So x equals 45.6 degrees. And it's important actually just to remember that I'm only writing down that x is 45.6 because I've got that first quadrant ticked. I want the answer that I get in my calculator, this A degrees. I'm going to go through all the quadrants again just as a quick refresher. So in this quadrant, I've had it ticked. I would take this answer that I've got already away from 180. This quadrant, I would add it onto 180. But the quadrant I've got ticked this time, the fourth quadrant, to get the other answer, I take the solution away from 360 degrees. I'm just going to write down that that's what I'm doing, 360 degrees, not minus A, but minus the answer I got in my calculator, 45.6. And I'm going to just work that out really quickly. So I have two answers, 45.6 degrees. And quick 360 minus your 45.6. And we get 314.4 degrees for our second solution. That should help you with solving trig equations when this value is positive. I'll do another video for when this value is negative that will hopefully help you out with those examples.